Rockaways Productions presents The Casey Waters Show, Episode 133, The Fundamental Theory of the Calculus of Life. Hello, I'm your host, Casey Waters, and today, Labor Day weekend, I'm filming outside again. Well, because it's nice out. I enjoy filming outside. Behind me, you may notice hummingbirds occasionally feeding at the hummingbird feeder. Also, I have Rose out here, my white cat. Well, one of five white cats that I have. And Rose, well, she might join me if she deems to jump up. Anyway, so, what's on tap for tonight? Well, several things. I will cover the fundamental theory of the calculus of life. I may have been over this material in the distant past, but gee, it's been a long time. Also, I'll dive into the imaginary territories and discuss properties of them. Why all this concern over the imaginary territories? Gee, something is brewing indeed. Excitement. Why? Well, excitement for me because I'm about to read some book, or a book rather. I'm about to read a book by Swedenborg on a Swarty. And Swarty is a Sufi Muslim lived around 1100 AD who believed in the imaginary territories. Imaginary territories created by thought and having substantial reality. And even the same imaginary territory created by the thought of many people. Well, apparently that's what Swarty believed in. But I must look further, so I ordered a book about him. So, and this book is written by Swedenborg. So, that is up and coming. Anyway, I have Rose with me now in its shedding season. But anyway, so, also, there's some cute bear footage coming up of a cute little cub just feeding on the rock, just as cute as could be. Well, the thing is about bears, you have to be very careful with them, of course. I wasn't aware that bears like bird food and squirrel food. Well, now I know better, so I won't put out any more. I don't want to attract the bears. It's not a good idea to feed them. Bears and humans don't mix, and bears don't need to associate humans with food. So, in the interest of bear safety, one should not put out bird food where there's a lot of bears. Well, there's bears here in Batcave where I live, so I have to avoid putting out bird food for now on. But anyway, the cub is so cute, isn't it? Well, anyway, always use caution around bears and never approach a bear cub. And the reason why you should never approach a bear cub is because you could get caught between the mother and the cub. I was filming the bear from inside my home and while on the deck with the cub in a distance, and even that might have been a little bold. Anyway, back to the subject at hand. The fundamental theory of the calculus of life. Well, let's cover that first. Then we'll cover the highway, which deals with imaginary territories and other properties of the imaginary territories. I want to be able to compare my imaginary territories to the imaginary territories that I'll read about in upcoming episodes. Anyway, so the fundamental theory of the calculus of life was invented by me back in my college days, probably when I was around 20 years old, while I was taking calculus. The fundamental theory of the calculus of life corresponds to the fundamental theory of calculus. The fundamental theory of calculus goes like this. You have u, which is a variable. And this variable, well, let's say it could be the x-coordinate of a line, let's say. Well, you could think of this variable as being able to be segmented, and the smallest segment possible of a length of the variable x that can be still considered any length whatsoever or have any existence or substance to it. The smallest length you could get is dx. You integrate all the dx's along the line in question. So you sum up all the dx's and you get the sum total of x. So let's be simplistic here and assume there's no y coordinate on the line, and the line lies entirely in the x coordinate. So you could integrate the dx from, let's say, 0 to 3. And the integral of dx is x plus c. So you would, and the c is arbitrary constant determined by your evaluation points. Anyway, that's the fundamental theory of calculus. Similarly, instead of having x, you could integrate over f of x and have df of x. That is the smallest little bit of a function of x that can still be considered a function of x. And you would integrate it and you would come back with the same function of x plus an arbitrary constant, which is determined by the length of the integral, i.e. the end points of the integral, the beginning point and the end point, which determines the length. Anyway, I'm sure this seems a little confusing to some people who haven't had calculus, and I understand. Well, corresponding to that is the fundamental theorem of calculus of life, which might be a little bit easier to swallow. Instead of having dx, you have du. Du is the smallest thought that can still be considered a thought. You integrate all the thoughts that make up your mind over your entire life, and you come up with u. Well, that is you, plus an arbitrary constant of individuality assigned by God. Or, if you don't believe in God, you could say assigned by circumstance. Anyway, then you could look at it in a different sense. Instead of having du being the smallest thought that can still be considered a thought, and adding up all the thoughts in your mind to get yourself, why not have u, or du this time, well, be an f of u, like the fundamental theorem of calculus. It has two parts, so does mine, the fundamental theory of calculus of life.